Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Talk Nerdy to Me podcast. I'm your host, Justin Hayward. With me today is Kat again, as we talk about another one of our favorite series, the Full Metal Alchemist. For those of you at home, Full Metal Alchemist, or Alchemist of Steel, as it's translated in Japanese, was created by Harumu Arakawa in 2001, published by Square Enix monthly shonen Gagan shonen manga anthology for its run between 2001 and 2010, which later sold as 27 individual volumes. The series was later animated into two separate series, Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, by the animation studio known as Bones Inc. Selling over 80,000 volumes worldwide, it is still considered one of the best-selling manga series and has even received a Seigen Award, an award dedicated to best fiction during the previous year by Japan in 2011. Other notable works by Harumu are Stray Dog, Hero Tales, Silver Spoon, and her current work titled Daemons of the Shadow Realm. The reason why this is socially relevant is because Netflix, ironically enough, has just dropped its new movie, The Full Metal Alchemist. It's the second movie in the series on Netflix yesterday, actually, and we actually just watched the movie and we thought it was a socially relevant topic. For those of you who don't know, the first film was dropped in 2017 as a live action, focusing on the first portion of the story arc, and the second one sort of moves into the Scar sector of the story. The first one ending with Lust and moving into this second sector. As we can tell, there will definitely be a third installation of the film as we sort of saw it. And on that note, we're going to start with our questions for the interview. So, what is your favorite part of the series?
I like the beginning of it, like when they start talking about all the different, like, starts for the characters, like where they came from and everything.
Okay. So, what character did you find most interesting?
I think Winry and Scar.
Winry and Scar?
Just because they kind of have similar, starts, because Scar killed her parents, and that's kind of how she got with her grandma and everything, because they were over in Ishval or whatever.
Yeah, I can see that being interesting, as Winry and Scar's sort of stories are mirror imagery of each other, as Winry being the daughter of the parents who saved Scar, and their death sort of starting their story. So I can definitely see that coming full circle as sort of an interesting aspect. I think for me, the most interesting character from the show is Alphonse. And I think the reason why I like Alphonse so much is because while he is an alchemist and he may or may not have a full body for the entire series, he doesn't let his brother see his pain. I think it's really hard for a character, especially that young, to go through that sort of suffering in silence and accept his fate, and knowing that while his pain is probably unbearably painful, he still focuses on his brother's treatment first. He cares less about his own self-well-being, and he wants to fix his brother for saving his life. And I think their sort of bond between him and Ed sort of showcases a really unique aspect of sort of why that the story sort of has its sort of roots, and why it's so important to, accept the laws and natures of the show's sort of magic system, which is called alchemy. So, what do you think? Why do you think the show is still popular today?
I think a lot of the, political corruption interests people, just because we see some of it in the world today, too. So it's relevant, and it's something that some of us can, what's the word I'm looking for? Connect to, or something? Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's relatable.
Relate to. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, I agree. I think that the show's socio-political topics are really relatable, especially within the United States, as it does focus more on the westernized societies of corruption and sort of political powers. Specifically with the line behind the scenes sort of showing of who's in charge and who's truly in power and what their end goals are. Mm-hmm. I think as we sort of envision ourselves throughout the story, I think that's one of the more unique aspects. I think the show is still popular today, honestly, because of the character development. As a storyteller, I think characters are one of the most important aspects, and because of all the unique stories that everyone has, like you said, with unique backgrounds that all sort of interconnect, while they're all different, they all showcase the bigger picture, which is what is Full Metal Alchemist, and how does this world that they are from, this country that they live in, really sort of grow and impact their sort of current lifestyles. What is something that you think is important for someone to know before watching the new Netflix film?
I think they probably need to watch the first movie because otherwise there's going to be some stuff that happens that they're not going to understand.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the second film is definitely, if you're not familiar with the Full Metal Alchemist world, it is on par with the story. It's almost like an exact replica of Brotherhood specifically, not Full Metal Alchemist, as that was a little bit changed from the original storyline. I think if you watch Brotherhood, it's easy to see like page for page where the similarities are. But yeah, if you don't know, I mean, especially the magic system or the character references that they start playing in that second film.
Because you don't really see like the circles or anything either in the second one, I don't think, besides Mustangs.
Yeah, I mean, so just understanding the magic system of how Ed uses his powers comparatively to other characters, definitely something that you'd want to look into if it's something that you don't know anything about the Full Metal Alchemist series. So, which that movie is also on Netflix. We did check that before we started recording today. So, how do you think the movie was as a fan of the series?
I think they did it very well. I think it follows the show and the books pretty closely, and then compared to some of the other ones that are at least on Netflix, like Death Note and Bleach, I thought it was a lot better done.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, especially in the anime industry, I think that they've had a really bad rap of making live-action adaptations.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about the forbidden one for all those who remember. Dragon Ball Evolution, for example, absolutely ruined my man Goku. His name wasn't even Goku anymore. But moving into other live actions, I think this is what fans are really looking for. I will say that as a fan of the series, while I love the fact that we got page for page of what we were looking for, I kind of wish, and this is probably what's the problem with being a fan is you want them to get the characters right and the story right, but you also want to be surprised. And I think that's my only issue with this series, specifically with this movie series, is that because it is a page-for-page representation of the film, or of the animated series, or even the manga, it's one of those things where it's like, I've already seen these moments. I kind of wanted something new, something fresh.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the hard part with doing something like Full Metal Alchemist is there isn't a lot more story outside of that. Do you think that fans will be happy to watch this film, or should they actively avoid it?
I think they should. I liked it.
You liked it?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
What made it so good? Like, what could you describe something for them without giving too much away?
I thought they did Alphonse really well. I like
The CGI.
Yeah, for him. I like that. It's been a while since I've actually watched the series, so like, while you kind of know what's gonna happen, if you don't necessarily remember right away, it's like, oh crap, yeah, that's right, they did do that. I thought that was kind of cool just to see, I guess, relive some of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that watching the new film, it definitely brought that nostalgia back of the moments that I remember from the series, and kind of did give me those like, oh yeah, I remember that. I do think there was a couple of subtle changes that sort of made sense thematically for their storyline, and I do think that the CGI that they utilized for the show was relatively well for the budget they were given for this Netflix film. I think that it's not as comparable as maybe to some of the bigger name franchises, but I do think that it was done well enough to where it's like, okay, I wasn't completely disappointed, especially in the fight scenes. I think some of the fight scenes that they used were really well done. I think like the Scar fight was absolutely phenomenal. And for those of you who do not know what I'm referencing, please watch the film as you will get a better intake on what that is, or you can watch the anime.
And just the characters were really well done.
Yeah, really well. I do think, so what was it? We were kind of joking while we were watching it. I think one of the characters that really like sort of set us off, do you remember who it was?
Is it Armstrong?
It was Armstrong. His hair was so perfectly done, but like, oh my gosh, like it's exactly what you envisioned him to look like, but you hated every moment that he looked so perfect. It was like, gosh, he looks so derpy, but absolutely love the fact that they did it, and they did it so well. I think that was really, like you were saying, I think that was one of those things that I really enjoyed it. I'll be honest, I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed Full Metal Alchemist since its beginning, watching both Full Metal Alchemist, the original series, and moving into Brotherhood, and then obviously watching these live action. So I'm really looking forward to this third film when it will come out. But for all those of you who haven't watched it, go ahead and check it out. check out the Full Metal Alchemist Scar movie on Netflix. This is not a paid advertisement. It's just something that we thought was enjoyable, and we thought it was a good topic to talk about this week. So on that note, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time on the Talk Nerdy to Me podcast. Again, I'm Justin. This is Ashleigh, and we'll see you guys next time.